As soon as you find out that a partner, a perpetrator of domestic violence, is a strangler, everything changes. Everything. That's the man that we're talking about when we look at a case like Joanna's.
The Solano County Sheriff's Office missed the opportunity to go after a murderer. This was a homicide, period.
Dr. Bill Smok never knew Joanna. He's never met her family. He lives 2,300 miles away, but he says he knows how she died.
Joanna's death is a homicide. She was murdered. The murder scene was staged to look like a suicide.
Dr. Smok's expertise is in high demand. He's the only police surgeon in the U.S., a liaison between law enforcement and medicine, and he's also the medical director of the Training Institute on Strangulation Prevention, an organization dedicated to domestic violence and sexual assault training.
I review cases for the FBI, for Customs and Border, the Department of Defense, state and local police departments across the country. I do it every week.
When the Institute learned of Joanna's case, Dr. Smok offered his expertise to the Solano County Sheriff's Office. What he found shocked him.
The evidence that was present at the scene and at the external autopsy was missed.
On October 6, 2011, a Solano County Sheriff's deputy found Joanna suspended from a bathrobe strap wrapped around her neck and tied to her closet rod. ABC 10 obtained never-before-seen photos of Joanna's death scene. Out of respect for Joanna and her family, we've blurred her after she was cut down. However, we felt it was important to show the bathrobe sash. And what else Dr. Smok noticed.
But was also at that crime scene was a dock rope.
A rope, inches away from Joanna.
A special kind of braided rope used for marine purposes.
Then Smok looked at Joanna's neck.
It is absolutely a perfect outline of a rope ligature applied to her neck, not the bathrobe sash.
It may be difficult to see, but with Joanna's family's consent, ABC 10 feels it's important to show her neck and what Dr. Smok is describing.
When you look at the imprint of the ligature on Joanna's neck, the ligature mark is of a rope.
Smok says the width and fibers of the bathrobe strap don't match the mark on her neck. And in close-up pictures, the well-defined mark is consistent with a rope.
You can even make out some weaving of the rope.
He also tested his theory. He bought the same rope
and took that rope and applied it to the neck of a mannequin to show the type of imprint you would expect to see if a rope is applied and pulled against the neck.
He did the same with a bathrobe strap. The marks did not match. Then he compared Joanna's injury to other cases where individuals died hanging by rope.
You put those side by side with Joanna's, it's exactly the same. I have presented that ligature mark to groups of forensic physicians, detectives, and they say that that is a ligature mark from a rope, period. It is not the ligature mark from a bathrobe.
But Joanna was found with the bathrobe strap around her neck. So what happened? Dr. Smok points to two distinct marks on her neck, one red and one yellow-brown. The red mark matches the rope, Smok says, and shows vital reaction.
Meaning there's bleeding into the tissue.
Above it, Smok outlines a fainter yellow-brown mark from the bathrobe strap,
which has no vital reaction. So what that tells me as the forensic physician is, one, Joanna was alive when the rope was applied to her neck. But then after she died and she was hung up in the closet with the bathrobe sash, she was not alive.
Dr. Smok included all his findings in a report to the Solano County Sheriff's Office. It was part of their 2024 reopening of Joanna's case, yet they say there's no new evidence.
Had someone brought new facts to this case, new evidence, then we would be happy to move forward in a different direction.
The rope, Smok says, is that new evidence.
That is the murder weapon.
Why was this evidence not considered?
Because it wasn't. We have other experts that have disagreed explicitly with Dr. Smok's report.
As we've covered earlier in this investigation, the night Joanna died, the Solano County coroner, Dr. Susan Hogan, ruled it a suicide. 2 years later, in 2014, amid scrutiny, she parted ways with the sheriff's office, and another pathologist reviewed her work, who reached the same conclusion. A decade later, Dr. Smok took a fresh look. He didn't know it, but the Solano County Sheriff's Office also called in another forensic pathologist,
who reviewed the exact same materials as Dr. Smok, and he provided the same conclusion that we had at the beginning, that this was a suicide.
The Sheriff's Office had both doctors sign non-disclosure agreements.
That was unusual. I have never had to sign a non-disclosure agreement with any law enforcement agency in my career.
Although the doctor's reports are public record, ABC 10 had to threaten legal action to get them from the Solano County Sheriff's Office. When the documents were released to ABC 10, we found the other forensic pathologist report was 5 pages. Dr. Smok's was 27. Shortly after both reviews, the Sheriff's Office closed the case, once again ruling Joanna's death a suicide, siding with the other pathologist's shorter report.
Why are you trusting his expertise over Dr. Smok in the 2 reports?
It's not that we value his opinion more or anything like that. It's the fact that he is a board-certified forensic pathologist, just as the other 2 prior doctors' opinions were. Dr. Smok, while he is an expert in his field, he's not a board-certified forensic pathologist.
Yet in 2024, a Colorado judge ruled that Smok was qualified to testify as an expert in clinical forensic medicine and strangulation, including determining cause and manner of death in a murder case.
So I've attended thousands of autopsies, actually been trained to perform the autopsy.
Smok says his expertise actually surpasses that of a forensic pathologist because he's trained to evaluate crime scenes, evidence, and injuries.
And put it together. I call that the totality of the evidence. I take the totality of the evidence, whereas some forensic pathologists don't go to crime scenes, don't analyze the injury.
But the Sheriff's Office disagreed with Smok's tests.
He did a type of test where he draped it over a dummy, but not under any kind of tension or pressure. And when a belt from a robe is used, it will actually collapse in on itself and create a ligature furrow, just as this.
That is absolutely not true.
It's why in his report, Smok included photos of other people's necks that had died hanging by a rope.
So they could compare them side by side.
So what happens when 2 experts disagree? ABC 10 asked Matthew Steiner, a senior crime scene analyst. He says it can happen.
You could have 2 different experts look at the same thing and have 2 different answers.
We didn't share Joanna's case details with him because we wanted a completely objective view of best practices in this situation. He says when there's 2 different answers, it's even more crucial to rely on any new evidence.
What constitutes new evidence in a case that's closed?
Anything that wasn't known prior to them determining that cause and manner of death for the medical examiner's office.
Including new witness statements or documents, but he says the best type of new evidence is
some sort of physical evidence, forensic evidence.
Like a rope. As technology advances, physical evidence can hold answers.
And we can recall that and retest it and get answers today that we couldn't have gotten answers years ago.
That's exactly what happened with the bathrobe sash. In 2015, records show DNA testing of it found at least 2 contributors, including at least 1 male, on the bathrobe sash. But the DNA didn't match Mark's, the report said, and no other matches were found in the system. While we don't know what happened, court records show Mark hired people to do things, even illegal acts. Former church members remember this too.
But he wouldn't do anything himself. He'd have the little puppets from the church go out.
That's what former church member Jacob Cantrell speculates may have happened to Joanna.
He'll hire somebody to do it. Him and his little buddy, they did it together somehow.
As for the rope, it could have been key evidence, but it can't be tested. It's long gone.
Was the rope collected and booked into evidence?
It was not, no.
They have elected to ignore the evidence that Joanna was murdered.
With Joanna's case closed again, Dr. Smok can speak freely and says her death exposes an even bigger issue.
We know, based upon the medical literature, is that if you're strangled one time, just one time, you are 750% more likely to be a victim of a domestic homicide.
In restraining order filings, Joanna said Mark strangled her years before she died.
We've learned that stranglers are different, they're dangerous, they're deadly.
But as soon as you go for the neck of a woman in an intimate violence kind of a situation, you are making a statement. Your statement is, I can kill you anytime I want. We call it a loaded God complex. It literally is him playing God.
Casey Gwynn and Gail Strack have spent years studying homicides that are staged to look like suicides. In case after case, they found strangulation is one of 10 warning signs.
If all 10 of them exist, which they do in Joanna's case, those cases are always a homicide. Always.
And they believe Joanna is far from the only one.
Most victims have no visible injuries, and if that can happen, it's also easy to cover up. It's easy to cover up a homicide to make it look like a suicide.
Research reveals hidden homicides and suspicious deaths are happening worldwide.
Her death was ruled a suicide.
Nationwide.
Robert Feldman guilty of murdering his wife, Stacy.
And other families believe right here in Northern California.
My son died at a party. I've never talked to a cop. I don't know. You've written my son's death off as a suicide without ever speaking to me? What is happening?
That's next on Hidden Homicides.